Peace, family. What's up, y'all? Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I am so excited to be here, y'all, because we have a special guest. I am so excited. I met her, I guess, about maybe a few months ago.
Yep.
A few months ago we met. And I am so excited to be here with her. But first, before we get into that, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Y'all, we are a growing global community, and I am so excited. So thank you guys so much, okay? So we have our special guest here, Joyce Wangari Ngugi.
Yeah, that's right. You got it.
But I listen, y'all, because I want to read her bio, right? We're going to be talking about so much, which this is going to be very conversational, but I do want to read her bio to you guys so you can get an understanding of exactly who she is. She is my Kenyan sister from another mister, okay? But her name is Joyce Wangari Ngugi. She is a consultant psychologist and research mentor with 16 years experience in holistic well-being and mental health. She delivers pragmatic, insightful, and transformational strategies to get out of the grip of toxic relationships at work. Her profile can be found via www.wangari.africa, and we're going to talk some more about that. She runs a platform of over 1,200 members called MHPSS Opportunities, whereby she posts mental health and psychosocial support jobs, internships, scholarships, and other opportunities daily, offering individual and group career mentorship and talks as a career strategist. She has worked in employee assistance programs offering mental health and substance use disorder counseling, organizational leadership training, separation counseling, as well as caregiver support programs. In particular, she uses creative art therapy to invite abundance thinking, connecting with others, and allowing and accepting uncertainty by embodying non-linear time, incorporating the body into our way of being. Love that. And not being stuck with rationality and productivity. This is my sister. You're dope.
It's always something when somebody reads your profile. So thank
you are dope.
For bringing it alive.
Yes, it is. I mean, because you are such a vibrant person, and there's something else I want to mention that you said in your profile. In addition to all of that I read, she also considers herself an Afrofuturist and a student of African.
Yep, that's right.
African with a K.
Okay, that's right. Yep.
African knowledge ways. I love it. So welcome, Wangari, my sister from another mister. So tell us, yes. So tell us, when you said an Afrofuturist. Tell me a little bit about that. What's the Afrofuturist?
So my work is inspired by all the Afrofuturists who are envisioning what we need for our continent, and not only continental Africans, but diasporian Africans. We do dream a lot about the future. I consider myself, first of all, an optimist.
An optimist,
right.
Okay.
And therefore, I know that there's very few people doing this work of thinking about where do we want to be as a people. There's a lot of technological imposition into Africa. There's a lot of people telling us what they think we need to do and imposing those things on us.
Imposing.
But there isn't enough of visioning of what a sovereign continent looks like, a sovereign people looks like, what the people would be involved with in dialogues with true partnership, really.
Yes.
And so I find that there's a space, there's a gap. And in all my training, I can tell you, there has never been any formal training in all of these things. Of course, these are not things that are in any mainstream, of my training in psychology or mental health. But it's something I stumble upon as a real gap in terms of nobody thinking about where do we want to go eventually with all of this different voices speaking to our story.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you're right. You have all these voices speaking to your story and telling Africa what you need.
That's right.
What you should do, right? And especially in the mental health space, with me being in that mental space as well, even some of the treatment modalities, you know, that you learn as a
Actually,
well,
all of
you're
them.
right.
All of
You're
them.
right. You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So when you look at mental health, and I think that's why a lot of African people all over the world, you know, those of African descent, America, UK, therapy and mental health is kind of like a taboo.
Yeah.
And I can understand why people feel that way, right? Because of the treatment modalities that we learn in school,
Right.
it comes from a Western perspective.
Completely Western perspective. We didn't have any other except the figures of psychology, Sigmund Freud, and the entire works of all these white people.
Yes.
We didn't have any representation in our own training, and now I begin to feel that there's a large part of my story that's missing. My late mother was a musician.
She was a musician.
And I know she's here in this interview because I've now known that all of the spirits live with us, including our ancestral spirits. And my mom had a way of carrying every single event with song. And so one of the things that have really defined my own journey is creative arts. And there hasn't been any mention of it in my formal training. It just was considered alternative. That word is a misnomer, or complimentary, or it's just an aside over there in the periphery. But actually, this is the language we know.
Yes.
We know music, we know movement, we know poetry, we know dance.
Absolutely.
That's our language, and so it's only recently that I found my voice and now beginning to boldly step into the world. And after having started the journey as a student of African knowledge,
yes,
now I would
this.
love to set up that for others. Who, I feel like, in a sense, I have also been orphaned in that sense of not having any other proteges or any people in that space for a while, But the truth is that they're there, and I just needed to look around.
That's absolutely.
And so I was glad I found you.
Yes. And so one of the things you had mentioned about your mom being a musician and how she carried music with her, and you also now incorporate music into therapy, and you incorporate the arts into therapy. One of the things I found as being a therapist is how when I was learning different treatment modalities, cognitive behavior therapy, EMDR, which is one that I really, really love, right? So when you look at the treatment modalities, it's almost as if they studied African people. They did this research, they repackaged it, and they put it into universities, and they taught it back to us our way. So it was like stripping our indigenous practices. Like your mom loved music. Do you know how healing music is?
Super healing.
Right. And so when you start stripping us of all of our indigenous practices, that bring in more anxiety, that bring in more depression, right? They're bringing more psychosis, because now we don't know how to navigate through this westernized space. We've lost who we are as a people and that sort of thing, right? And so I'll give you an example. When you look at a treatment modality, EMDR. Okay, that EMDR is for a lot of trauma patients. But when I went through EMDR training, we were taught there was a Caucasian woman, in a nutshell, a Caucasian woman walking down the street, and she was moving her eyes
In California.
And
she came upon this amazing discovery.
Right. She was thinking about her problems, and her eyes was going back and forth, and she started feeling better. Right? And so now they repackage it, and they call it eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Right? So, but African people have been using bilateral stimulation
for
since
the
the beginning.
longest time.
Yes. And
Totally get that.
Yes. And so for African people, I'm from the United States, of course, but I'm from New Orleans. And so we have a lot of African culture in the city where I'm from. So when someone dies, we have what you call a second line, and that's dancing. To help us get through our grief, our life troubles. Dancing is bilateral stimulation. right, left, right, left, right?
Yeah.
Beating of the drum, music
Yeah.
is a form of bilateral stimulation, and we have used those things since the beginning of time to help us through our problems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, for me as a therapist, it's important to decolonize.
Yeah.
Mental
I have
health.
found my space in that same decolonizing movement.
Yes.
And especially because when the colonialists arrived in Kenya from Britain in 1895, they dismembered what was the moral fiber, the cultural mores of the society, and they literally physically ejected people from their homelands.
Wow.
And so they settled in most of what where my lineage come from. That's where a lot of the British colonialists actually settled.
Really?
And so
where was that lineage?
Central Kenya. So
Okay.
a lot of the Kikuyu community actually suffered genocide across the early 1900s up until when Kenya became independent from the British in 1963.
Wow.
However, these people never left. We actually still have, up to date, in the farm where my father grew up, we have the second generation, the sons of the people who came in. Wow. They are still living here in Kenya, and actually they claim that they've really not mechanized how they do work because they prefer manual labor. It gives a lot of jobs. I mean, it looks good on the surface, but this is actually the same machinery. And so neocolonialism is real.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge I've had, especially with colleagues in my mental health space in Kenya, is to actually have them step up to this conversation.
What do you think the barriers are to them stepping up to this conversation?
I think that a lot of people's consciousness is not yet awakened. I think a lot of people are still living in a sort of Pollyanna, dreamlike fashion, and not really in reality of the damage, the pain, and the ongoing oppression, in the sense that there are still places where, you're nothing. Your skin color talks without you, even having to say a word. That's still ongoing, that hatred, that racial malice and things like that. So now I have a whole bunch of colleagues who are supposed to be my brothers and sisters, and right here with me, we've grown up together. I've come to this realization, and I realize that I always have to do this one-on-one conversation. And so I've been patiently, trying to deconstruct each one of these concepts, but I realize that therein is my calling. The entire work of restoration. So it's one thing to, put our hands up and protest and make noise. That's one thing. That's one piece of work.
Right.
Very important activism work. Then there's another piece of work which I feel is so silent, which is about regeneration, restoration, reconnection, and actually living, embodying those practices. So people know this intellectually, but the systems may not allow for any of the practices, such as connecting back to ancestry, realigning with especially a lot of what got lost. I'm a researcher, but the word research has been actually connoting data mining, and it's very dehumanizing. So research, to search again, to go back to that which we forgot, like the Sankofa symbol.
Yes.
It's not bad to go back
to
what that which we forgot. That's an entire process that takes quite some bravery too in this setting, because again, by the journey itself, by taking on the journey itself, suddenly it's like, I'm just being too much. I shouldn't be doing all of this. It's just too much. But I'm enjoying it. I am not having any hang-ups myself. I'm loving the journey of just going back and reconnect.
How do you feel being on a journey though? What is it doing for you spiritually?
There's been a real wake up call. My religion has shifted over. My entire social networks have had to shift over. You know, and then I've come to the realization it's not about supremacy; it's about nativity. You know, I can go back to source, and that's okay. I have had some conversations with people where it gets so heated and they think that I'm advancing a position that says I'm better than you or something like that.
Okay.
But that's not what it's about.
No.
The work of indigenization is critical just as globalization is going on.
Yes.
Like we really need to go
come back. We have to come back. I always say back to the future. Right. Going back is the future. That's right. Yeah. And when you talk about that, I get it. And it's not just here in Kenya, even in America. Right? Yeah. When you start talking about religion, you know, religion has played a huge role, and you talked about how, you know, you're even shifting in that area. Yeah. When the awakening happens, it's not just in one area.
Yeah, it's not in one area. And you know, when we were in school, in history class in high school, we were taught that the colonialists came for the 3 C's, and this is something like
they came for what?
3 C's. So
there's
an acronym of the C's. So they said that first C they brought is Christianity, you know, and the second C they brought was civilization, and then thirdly was colonization. We knew that intellectually, but at the time in high school, it didn't invoke any feelings.
Yeah.
It was just like textbook knowledge, and that's what you got to know to pass your history exam. You know, they brought the 3 C's, they brought in the name of Christianity and civilization, they brought colonization. And I knew that, but never really occurred to me until I was an adult and I faced that firsthand. And then I realized, oh, I actually have been shut down, put aside, ignored, and maybe that means I should do more of that. You know, if somebody like censors you, it kind of gives you...
You're like, muted.
That's right. It kind of gives you the impetus that I actually can do more of that, since this is what they don't want to hear. There's so many systems that just tend to suppress African girl, and that's what I had to grow up with, and therefore coming to the realization that I can create my own world just as I want it.
Yes, you can create your own world, but it does take courage though, because when you go on a journey of awakening and discovering, I can create my own world, right? There's a lot of rejection that comes along with that. You know, your Kikuyu family may not understand that, right? Like, what are you, especially if they're Christian, and you're talking about evolving spiritually, right? You know, as Christians, everything is demonic.
Yeah, my dad has always taken me round to churches when we were growing up. He never wanted us to be constricted to one faith, or he wanted us to understand a lot of things. He was
your dad was pretty open.
Yeah, quite open-minded. So we went church to church, including to mosques. My dad wanted us to see it all, and he wanted us to have a broader perspective of what religion looks like. And towards, you know, adulthood, he said, "Oh, you pick what you want. So long as your life works and you're happy, you know, you're fine."
Wow.
So I've had that privilege of having that space where I can be. And then one time I had just come out of a really oppressive situation with a boss who's white right here in Kenya. And so I decided, you know what? I know what I need for my life. I'm going to go do my locks. Now, why my locks are so significant is that they are now, let's see.
How long have you had them?
10 years.
10 years, okay.
Yeah, since 2012, March 1st.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
They're
so
beautiful.
Today's June 22, 2022. So it's been quite an amazing journey of discovery who I am to myself. You know,
that's not the first step to women, though. It's the hair. It's like getting rid of the perm.
And beauty. That's exactly.
You got rid of the perm?
I got rid of the perm. But there's something else I noticed most recently, like over the last maybe 5 years in Kenya. People are, you know, fashions and fads go in cycles, but people are going back to what's just real and original and genuine. And women are beginning to embrace, you know, their own bodies and be in their skin and love their hair, and it became a thing. It became a thing. And now after I got this hair, my 3 sisters, all of them want this hair, and they've all started on the journey.
Oh, they have?
So they love my locks and that. And why is this important? Women's bodies have been also subjugated.
Yes.
And a lot of times, the violence in society goes down to the bodies of women. And so that level of liberation, I've just enjoyed, that journey, however much it has also been, quite uncertain and all that. So right now I'm in the leadership of a collective called Africa High. So Africa High is a collective that was founded by Wangari
Ngugi?
O-R-G, yes.
Okay.
So that's her website, wangui.org. And in that collective, we are reconnecting, reigniting, regenerating, all the re's you can think about.
Renewal, restore.
That's right. We're doing that work.
Look, all of this is going to be in the description, y'all. Y'all going to be able to hit up all of Wangari's stuff, all of her stuff. But go ahead.
So we're doing this work, and in that space, I energize the group.
Yes.
A lot of my friends have described me as a person full of zest, enthusiasm, energy.
Yes.
And so I'm the vibes creator. I basically get people moving.
You the vibe.
That's right. I beat the drums.
Yeah.
I do the smoke signal. We do the
Yes.
fire signal at night. Those are the signals for communication, for meetings, in our traditional society. So I call people to,
Okay,
let's
talk
meet.
about that. You
Yeah,
said that's
sure.
for your tradition. Let's go back to some of your
So of course, every interaction in the original African community space was about being a collective and being interdependent. I think that's a big part of what we've lost. I think that there are people who are attempting to do this work of regeneration, but they're still individualistic in that sense.
Okay.
But the thing is, we need to lean in.
Do you think they're doing it in secret out of fear or?
Yeah, but some of them also, their consciousness is not raised, they haven't done their work, internally. It's more like you have to have like an inner transformation, then get an outer transformation.
Yes,
and so
yes.
if you attempt to do it and you haven't really, done the work, then you actually miss the boat. So what is Ubuntu? Ubuntu is all about I am because you are.
Yes.
So here we are. So we've got to create this thing
because
together.
you are. Right. We are one.
Right. So we've got to create, an Africa that works for us. All of us together. It doesn't work for one person. What affects you in that corner will affect me in this corner. That's for sure. We now know with climate change and things like that, we know that we are all at risk. And in the next few years, if we don't do something to heal, not just the technological side of climate change, but the mindset shifts and the relational traumas. If we don't do anything to heal all of that stuff, there's nothing we're doing with all this advanced technology.
Yes.
So,
and this goes beyond tribe. This is just the African people as a collective.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so you touched on something, and I want to go a little deeper into it. Okay, Christianity.
Yep. All right, interesting. So,
okay, so let me. So my background is Christianity, right? But Christianity was a huge part of slavery and colonization.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm going to say westernized Christianity because Christianity in and of itself goes a little deeper, but it's the westernized Christianity that was used to oppress African people. Okay, so what do you say to some of those who have left all of their indigenous practices here and have picked up, the white Jesus? By the way, I'm so surprised by so many white Jesuses I see painted on.
Yeah, I know.
My tattoos.
Everywhere.
So would you say that is also the beginning of your inner transformation with approaching Christianity with some questions, the way that we have been taught it?
Yeah. I think just like whoever said, religion is the opium of the masses. So that's for sure. I feel like there is a mismatch and a contradiction because a lot of the people who still practice Christianity will still have on the side what they think will work. So that actually casting doubt into, does Christianity actually work?
Okay, so here, let's clarify. So here, although, let's just say it's a Kikuyu family, right? They may go to church, but they are also on the side practicing their indigenous practices. Okay, they're probably more ahead than some people, some African Americans.
And I
would
would
having that on the
say
side.
a lot of it is about group dynamics, conformity, and the whole moralization of who people are supposed to be. But says who gets to determine who's a good and a bad person? And I think when I was able to be in my own space and as an adult thinking about these things, I could take a relative approach. I could say it depends on which angle you look at it from. It depends on where you're standing from. And so for me, it's been a journey of restoring a lot of the damage, a lot of the toxicity that happened, especially in my religious institutions that I attended, but also in and off my own plugging into, the entire religion thing. So that has not been easy. That has been like the toughest part of my journey. It seems like for a woman, morality standards are even higher. It's like, it's like you're either a saint or a whore. So it's like it can't be anything in between, And
You're a saint or a whore?
Yeah.
Which one?
So
there is no in between.
There's no in between, and it seems like it's a harsher judgment. So if you don't believe in Jesus, then you must be those, whores.
And this is the duality. You're either
duality.
this or either that, and life is not black and white.
It's not black and white, and that's actually a very big fallacy, but people don't seem to get that, So again, I found myself many times pushing against the oppressions of the systems and having to always come up with strategies to fit as a person who's different. I stopped trying to fit though. I'm not trying to fit anymore. I used to try to fit, squeeze myself, and I can't.
So now you're just being who you are. Wangari Ngugi. And I know you have Joyce, but you know what I notice about you that I like? You embrace your Kikuyu name.
I actually dropped the use of my name on my own personal terms 2018 after I went to the States.
Really? Oh, yes. And let's talk about that. So 2018, you went to the United States, and then when you came back, you decided to drop your Christian name.
That's right.
Okay, so tell us about that experience. What happened?
Sure. So I fundraised along with a colleague of mine from a different university. At the time, I was doing my doctorate in clinical psychology, just like she was. So we got together and we applied under the Division 45 of APA, that's the Culture and Ethnic Minorities.
Okay.
And so we were accepted to present a paper, and we were like, we didn't think that would be a yes. Okay, great. We didn't even know where to get visas from and things like that. It was our first time.
Okay.
But we ended up there. But what was so interesting was, while we were making the presentation, a lot of the questions coming were not anything about the presentation.
Really?
Yeah, so a lot of our audiences.
Which state were you in? Where'd you go?
So we went to San Fran. We were
San Francisco.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, we were in California. So.
Okay.
So we were having these audiences, all quite a varied audience, but all of them U.S. Americans, and they would be like, so tell us. So when you complete a presentation in an academic conference, you would imagine people would engage with the actual thing that you are presenting.
Yeah.
And they go like, so is there any psychology in Kenya? Like, do you guys have any universities? Do you guys? So there is psychology. So do you guys do any research?
Wow.
So I noticed that there's a lot that in my community is happening that's not just known. There's a level of ignorance as well with U.S. Americans.
Absolutely. Now, you can say that there is a lot of ignorance with U.S. Americans about Africa. Do you know that? And that's one of the reasons why I do these videos.
Yeah.
Because there are still, and I'm going to say African, well, white Americans too, but the audience, my people, African Americans, there's still African Americans who think that the whole kingdom is impoverished and children are sitting around with flies in their eyes. And when you say you're going to Africa, they become terrified, right?
Yeah.
But it's colonization here, it's racism there, right?
That's
They
right,
kept
yeah.
us ignorant. They keep us ignorant about Africa.
Right.
They show us the worst parts about Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and they show you guys the best parts of America.
America,
Some
that's
people don't even realize America have homeless people. America have people that live on the streets.
Yeah.
Manzungus live on the street as well in America. Like there are poor people in America, right?
Yeah.
And so, so you notice the ignorance.
Yeah, the ignorance was at an astronomical level. But some of their questions, though, ignited a fire for me to really go back and know more. Because I was also like, I don't know. Somebody asked me, so what's the meaning of the word Africa? I said, oh, I've never thought about that. And when I looked it up, I liked what I saw. So when I came back, I was on a mission. I was like fired
That's
up.
a part of your awakening, yeah.
I was like, I need to know. There's missing gaps in my own understanding of my own heritage, and there's this big culture in the States of which corner of the States you come from. There's all that hula baloo, and then people really want to identify, including with flags and very visual. Very visual. They want to say where they originally. There's all that heritage talk, which we don't go around Nairobi thinking about. So, where exactly I come from and a lot of my heritage,
But you don't have to though.
That's right.
You don't have
everybody
to.
here looks just like me.
Yeah,
have
that's
to,
the benefit. That's the benefit that you all have because there's a missing. You guys have the privilege.
Yep.
Of being born and feeling connected to family.
That's right. We have a sense of belonging.
You have a village. You have a sense of belonging. You have a village to go to, right?
Yeah. So it's only by me having left my community and go up there that I suddenly realized.
You realized it.
Okay, I'm different. Okay, let's see.
So when you got to America, is that when you realized that you were black and different?
Yeah, there was a very how do I say, individualistic, but also cold and there's something missing in the interactions. There's so much impatience. Yeah.
Coldness.
Just
talk to your people.
Yeah.
Talk to your people.
It's because like those everywhere there's just gadgets, so you do it yourself. Even when you just need like a conversation. I mean, people are generally friendly, but they're also like standoffish.
And something is missing. Yeah.
Something was missing.
Something was missing. Okay, so you remember. So know when you were in America as a Kenyan, it was just you couldn't put your finger on it.
Yeah,
but you knew something was off, and you knew something was missing, right?
Yeah.
Imagine being born into that and living with that void that you felt during your visit. Imagine being raised in that and not being able to go back to your Kikuyu village, not being able to connect with your father, not being able to speak your mother's tongue, not even knowing what that is. You just know that you have gadgets and that feeling.
Emptiness.
Right? And so you have the gadgets, you have the material things, but it's a void. That's how African Americans feel.
And I got a sense of that. We had wonderful hosts who were African Americans. They were amazing, fantastic. There was also a lot of pain whenever they spoke.
Pain.
And I could actually have a sense of there seemed to be a dichotomy between, while I thought I looked just like African Americans, there seemed to be a dichotomy and they seemed to kind of see me as different, and I was baffled too. So I'm baffled first at the Caucasians, and then I'm baffled secondly at the African Americans
because we're looking at you like you kind of look like us.
But you're not like us.
But you're not like us, and that's a part of the ignorance and the not knowing. Okay, and so I find relationships between African American and Africans are different in America than here on the continent because there is such a disconnect in a divide, and that's not by chance.
Yeah, that's by design.
That
totally
is by
get that.
design,
Yeah.
that we look at each other and it's like, well, no,
Yeah.
because what throws us off is you don't sound like us. And I see you very friendly with all of these white people. And you're so connected with all of these white people that's different. Because see, we have to play the game to be, and we just go along with it. But y'all seem to really, really be connected to these white people, and we don't understand you doing that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally got that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had two, I mean, California is like the end of US. It's like, you know, the far leftist, you know. And then I moved to the South, and there's vibe. Like the South has a vibe.
Everything is different, right?
It's different.
Yeah.
It's a little laid back.
I'm from the South.
It's very, you
Yeah.
know, this vibe. I kind of enjoy the South a lot.
Okay.
You know, I do.
Yeah.
And I was visiting with my sister in Mississippi, and, you know, I kind of liked that better. So.
And you know what further the divide? Like when you were there, because we know so little about Africa. Like we're just now becoming more and more exposed to Africa, right? Because you think about it, America as the superpower, right? The world sees America, right?
Yeah.
Africa is a continent.
Yeah.
America is a country. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's a country.
And so when
A
you look at
continental country, but it's a country.
on our news, they're not showing us KTN. We have no idea what's happening in Kenya. In America, you don't know anything about the governments on this continent. We don't know about that. We have to actually go search. That information is not readily available to us.
Yep.
But when you guys are here on the continent, you know
We're
our life.
bombarded. Yeah, we're bombarded.
You
actually.
know our whole life.
And that's one-
You know the code. You know everything.
Yeah, that's one
but
thing.
we don't.
I designed. I will have an entire sustainable socioeconomic structure on the cultural artifacts, knowledges, processes, all of the representations on the African continent. Because I saw the lie. I mean,
You saw the lie. What's the lie? Be clear about the lie. What's
First
the
of all,
lie?
the number of channels over there, and they're all basically the same. Ads, and more ads. Just bombardment.
All ads.
Just all bombardment. And
Capitalism.
It's hyper-capitalism. That's hyper-capitalism.
Yes.
And the amount of food on the plates, that was a shocker. The food industry was a real shocker. Well, I was preparing myself for culture shock, but when I saw the calories written on huge billboards, like you guys, like I kept thinking, so guys actually count calories.
Yeah. They
Like,
count, you know,
people
they
count
count calories. Right.
Like
because
I've always
that-
known it only on packs, little packs, like on if you buy a soda or something, there's calories. But now it's even on the billboard.
Yeah, but you know why
Right.
we have to count calories? Because half of that stuff is injected with hormones. Half of the food in America is injected. It's genetically modified food, right? And so when you go to the grocery store in America, you will see a pretty tomato. There's no bruise, there's no bug bite, there's nothing. It's
No
beautiful.
blemish,
No
soft and
blemishes.
round.
It looks like a toy almost until you pick it up. Another thing that you notice is there's no bugs flying around.
Yeah, there's
right?
nothing, yeah.
There's nothing, right?
While that is actual food, you should have, you know.
Right. When I came to Africa, I was so shocked. I had my tomatoes out, and I have all these bugs flying in my kitchen, and I'm like, "What's happening?" This is organic food.
Yeah.
Africa has organic food, right? So you don't have to count calories because it's not as much because it's
natural.
organic, it's
Yeah.
natural. In America, the food is not organic and it's not natural. Capitalism.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
They want to have a long shelf life.
Yeah, and completely exploiting the biology of human beings.
Oh wait, say that. Come on, you got now Wangari. When you start dropping this stuff, you're gonna have to slow down so the people can hear you. What does it do to the human being? It destroys.
Exploiting the biology.
It's exploiting the biology of the human being.
Yeah.
Wangari.
And I felt objectified actually.
Yeah.
And you know, first the amount of wastage, so fast, too much food serving on a single plate, just too much. Like this food could feed like 2, 3
Repeat.
Now, given that I don't even eat lots of cold foods where I come from, cold food, okay, I could deal with that. Cold food, fine. But the food that's heated up is a lot. And even the behavior of people in restaurants. That's like, you just take 2 bites and then you're done. You leave a huge soda.
Wasteful.
Just wasteful culture. I'm like, what is this?
And you know what they do? Like, they have a lot of fast food places.
Yeah.
And so sometimes at the end of the night when they close some of these restaurants, they take the extra chicken in the food, and they throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah.
The homeless people have to dig through the trash in the dumpster to eat a meal.
Yeah.
Isn't that cold?
Very.
You would rather throw food away in the dumpster than to feed the hungry. And you know what those restaurants say? Well, no, because we don't want the cooks to make too much on purpose. So we just throw it away. You can lose your job if you don't trash food.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And if homeless people want food, they have to rubbish through the dumpster.
Well, that's very sad.
But that's America.
Yeah, but that's like, there's no humanity.
Ah.
There's no humanity.
Yeah.
You're just an object. You're a product of the system. You either plug in, fit in. So, after that, my sister's been asking me, why don't you go back to the States?
So your sisters are still there?
She's still there. She's
Okay.
a citizen. I have 2 sisters who are Kenyans.
Yeah.
They were envying me that I went over there. And when I came back, I wrote this article. They read, they said, oh, really? You mean America is not all bad?
Yeah. Okay. So talk about that. Yeah, because you wrote an article on that. And I'm gonna put. I want to drop your. Can I drop your article link as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So talk about that. Okay. So you were in America. You've
For
had
1 month.
for 1 month. You've had this experience. You come back to Kenya, and you don't want to go back to America.
I don't.
Why? Because there's a lot of Kenyans who watch my channel, and they don't understand not wanting to go to America. Can you explain?
Yeah, I have a full life, including clients from America. I don't need to be there physically. One, if it's about money, which is the agenda that my family thinks is great, since my visa is still valid, if that's the agenda, I could easily tap into the economy wherever I am. I don't need to be there physically. So, that aside, my life is not just about socioeconomic, good. I think I've found the privilege of my voice.
Yeah.
And my community, which makes me feel at home, is right here.
She said her community that makes her feel at home is right here.
Yeah.
Because life is not about just money, your socioeconomic status. It's about a feeling and a sense of belonging.
That's right, And then one of the fears that I think we need to liberate ourselves from is that if we fear that we cannot get our basic needs met as human beings, we need to look outside of trying to do it solo. You see, in my life, one of the things that are still not working, I'm not still able to have a consistent income. But then I looked at the whole thing, and then I realized where the rain started beating me. It's just about shifting around my mindset. I don't have to do it all alone.
No,
see,
you can do it as a collective. You can do it as a collective.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
that's why I'm so glad we met.
Yeah, and I would say I was impressed by the infrastructure in the States. That was just quite par excellence. But there's something with the mindset that I did not like. And so I'm better off where I can actually make community work for me and have a life that's fulfilling. I can always visit. I can always go see my sister, because that's the only reason I go back to the States.
Yeah, to see your family.
Yeah,
that's the only reason why I'm going there.
That's it. That's it. That's the only major reason.
And I tell people the American dream. The American dream is having the ability to make money globally, but live in Africa.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even to Kenyans who may never leave or go away or make the connections global, you can make global money to Kenyans. I don't care if you're a driver, if you're house help, I don't care.
Yeah.
You can make global money in Kenya. There's a lot of foreigners here, right?
And
but if you do business right,
Yeah.
You can make global money
Yeah.
right here in Kenya.
Yeah, you don't have to keep moving. I know some people, some of my friends were like, what about winter? Did you experience it? I said, no, I went in the summer. I am
What
not
about
interested. Winter.
Winter.
I'm not interested in snow and things like that. I just, whatever.
Nairobi has perfect weather. Do they?
Yeah.
Nairobi.
Well, it's the thing about difference. Human beings will always want something that's different.
That they've never had.
You think that the grass is greener on the other side,
But it's
'Cause
artificial grass.
You've seen cute pictures of children, Barbie dolls in the snow, and you think that that's all life is about. So there was that conversation too.
Okay.
I'm quite happy to go.
Doesn't it snow in Lemiru?
I mean, my parents, when I was in kindergarten, were in Germany, so we experienced the snow and
Yeah.
things like that. That's not, I could visit anywhere right now, and I recognize as I say this that there is a privilege to it. I recognize that. But I have found my voice, and I feel like I can now exercise choice. If I went to the States right now to do maybe a goal-directed task, fine. I could do that and come right back home.
And come right back home.
Yeah.
So I want you to share this with, especially with some of my African American brothers and sisters, right? Tell them about how you grew up. Because let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell y'all know I keep it real, right? Do she look like she have flies in her eyes? Do you think I'm about to give her, give her money because poor Wangari, she needs Karen to give her money. She'll take my money because she could cool you. Okay? I'm just joking, y'all. Joking.
I know. I don't need your money.
She don't need her money.
Yeah.
She do not. So Americans, African Americans with the mindset that you need to come to Africa to save Africa. She don't need you to save her. This is about partnership and collaboration,
That's
right?
right.
So talk to the people about how were you raised, what type of environment you were raised in.
My parents were the classic teachers who lived in mid 1950s when we were at the height of what we call the state of emergency in Kenya. So in the 1950s in Kenya, Kenyans were already in concentration camps, and at the time my parents were just about in their teenagehood when Kenya became independent. So these are people who really raised up, they really raised up their own lives from the total mess of, being dislocated, disenfranchised, all of these things. So these are people in the first generation of Kenyans who really did the work. And so both my parents gave us the values of hard work because of being teachers. Now, to be a school teacher is to be patient and persistent with a little salary over a long time. So we always grew up knowing
But you said a little salary of a long time.
Over a
Just
long
consistent.
time. Just consistent
That's what
peanuts.
That's business, period. We try to explain that. I did this in another video about even explaining to the drivers. Don't overcharge for one drive when you can just be fair and you get more business.
That's right.
If you're consistent over time, you make more money.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So my parents were trained teachers, and my dad had lived on a colonial settler farm. He worked for the Mzungu.
Wait, tell me about that. Because see, I'm not aware of this. So a colonial secular farm?
Settler
Settler
so
farm.
when
Okay.
the settlers arrived, when the colonialists arrived, they took the most prime land in the middle of Kenya.
Okay.
And so my father had to pay for his life or bills or whatever by working for the Mzungu.
Okay.
And so they did a lot of work on the farm. And so my father learned a lot of his modern day agricultural practices from the British.
Okay.
He worked literally on their farm.
Okay.
And so they gave him a pittance for his education.
Okay.
And so he was able to pay for school. At the time, his sisters weren't even educated.
Wow.
So my grandmother, who's still alive, that's the mother to my father, has 13 children.
Okay.
One died at birth, so there were 12 live children. 8 males and 4 females. She was not educated.
Okay.
And she still reveres the day that the Mzungu arrived and gave her a beautiful Sunday dress. She, up to today, talks about that day.
Wow.
And she says that if the British had not arrived, we would still be underdeveloped. That's her theory. So anyway, So my father grows up on a colonial settler farm. My mother, the same story. At least they were saved from the concentration camps where the British had put up people, and that a few people would escape into the Mau Mau Liberation Army struggle. So they didn't have to deal with all that. But however, they were held hostage by this Muzungu who had to kind of, Mzungu is white man, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
They had to, be in that farm and do as their slave master wanted. And so he was what you would call a kitchen toto. Kitchen toto is again another word popularly used in Kenya to refer to those people who worked in the homesteads of the white people and had to, eke a living. So out of that,
kitchen toto.
Kitchen toto.
We call that the house nigger.
That's right.
Okay, go ahead.
So he was that.
Dang, this stuff is so universal.
Yeah.
These people did a number on us. But go ahead.
And up to today, my father doesn't see anything bad. In fact, he says that they saved him from the concentration camp where people used to be maimed, tortured, shot with bullets, speared with arrows and all kinds of things. And he says he got spared from that because of, this Mzungu rescuing his father, and therefore he grew up in that enclosed. All he needed to do is work without thinking, like a slave.
Yeah.
So now they become, those days, being a teacher was revered. So 1963, Kenya's independence, and my parents are probably now in their 20s going into marriage life and things like that. And so they raised us. Yeah. And so I think the greatest gift I got from my both parents is this idea of just persistence, don't give up.
Persistence, yeah.
Be determined, just keep going, don't stop. And they built a lot together up until their divorce. And after their divorce, I found that from that experience, now who I am is very much the scientist my father was. And a lot of my father's training was not only on the settler farm, but also from his own father, who was a herbalist. He was a traditional herbalist.
Oh, so was it?
Yeah, okay. And my father actively taught us about all the different types
herbs.
of herbs.
Yeah.
So I've imbibed a lot of that. And then my mother was a musician and very good social intelligence, emotional intelligence. That informs a lot of the work I do in psychology.
Yeah.
And luckily, by my both parents being teachers, they had this mentorship element to them. They didn't keep their careers to themselves. We ran a music school when I was young.
Wow.
I grew up both in Nairobi and on the outskirts of Nairobi on a farm.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up on a farm. So it was like a suburban place that was pretty okay. They did the work of, raising 4 girls in the 1990s when in Kenya there was a major economic depression. So I credit them for that. 4 girls.
Wow.
So I'm the third of 4 sisters. We're 4 sisters. So.
I love this.
And all of them amazing. But the other day we met just recently, and we realized that all of us have taken up work in helping people. So we have 2 medics, I'm a psychologist, and the other one is a HR manager.
Is she? Wow.
So all of us are into this whole space of reimagining what makes for a good life for human beings. And we're all into holistic well-being stuff. And so we have all kinds of conversations in our circle. So, just about life and adding life. I think that's something that is a family value that's running down, So I would say that really informs my outlook. But my mom was the artist, for sure. That's clear.
Really?
She was a musician, she was the artist. My dad was a scientist. He was like methodical and structured. And so right now I have both, and I'm learning to be quite happy. I mean, in any case, psychology is a science and an art.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the art got kicked out or disbanded. I think it should be returned, A lot of the work I do in the office, just connecting with people, has to do with a lot of the ways in which in our culture we express pain and things like that. So creative arts.
Yeah. So This has been amazing. But one of the things I want, what could you say to Kenyans, and even our viewers, period, those Africans that's in the diaspora, those who's a little hesitant about receiving mental health services? What can you say to them to kind of
That's a good one.
remove that stigma?
So, mental health is not only about the absence of disease or illness, it is actually also holistic well-being practice.
That's it.
So I feel like many people get removed from the mental health conversation if you associate it with only mental institutions.
Psychosis.
Yeah,
Also,
that's-
if you think you have to be in psychosis.
That's right, yeah. So a large part of the work we do is actually to get people not to even seek care in the first place.
Yeah.
So I feel like by denying the existence of expertise in the field of mental health, our populations have more to suffer from. We don't have to do it in the armchair style of the Muzungu or in any of the whiteness way.
No, we don't.
We need to boost our own resilience. It's actually good not just for us, but for generations to come. So I feel like that's a big gap, including in Kenya. There's a very big gap here in terms of accepting the language and the worldview. The other day, I had a really good friend telling me, I don't think my husband beating me has anything to do with mental health. I said it has everything
to do.
Everything.
If your husband is beating you, that has everything to do with mental health.
She actually characterizes his behavior and justifies it and doesn't think he's sick or anything. He's just choosing to beat me. That's all.
No.
And that's actually, I think that's the issue.
And that's a mental health issue on both ends. Her receiving it and accepting it, and him doing it.
So a lot of that moralization of, oh no, this person is just a character thing. This person chose to do that, but not looking into this. There are actually people who spend years looking into how best to help people see themselves as dynamic, and if one thing doesn't work, you can change over. You don't have to stay. You don't have to suck it up.
Absolutely. Listen, look, we can go all day. It's just so much I feel like we didn't even touch on.
Right.
Are you gonna come back?
Sure, let's do another.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe on the road this time.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a ride along together. So y'all, we're gonna do a ride along that's gonna be coming up, and she's gonna be able to show me, some things around Kenya, and just to kind of point out some things, educating me as an African American. And before we log off, what could you tell African Americans, like, what do you think would be the benefits of us coming to Africa, to Kenya, to Ghana? What is it that you believe that you need?
Got that. I love that question because I first encountered this conversation during Black History Month at my campus, United States International University, Africa, right here in Nairobi. And you know what we need? We need integration.
Integration, not a savior.
Not a savior.
Integration.
We don't have enough conversations about the pain of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora.
Yeah.
And as continental Africans, we are completely oblivious. We have no idea. We're ignorant about what exactly diaspora Africans had to go through. And over the years, generationally, conversations for healing are just missing.
It's missing, yeah.
So we are on the surface. There's lots of blame game. There's lots of jealousy. There's lots of on both sides, I would say. And then it's just a missing link. It's just we have a tapestry of diversity, but we're not using it.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we're not united. I mean, I think diversity is a strength. I don't think that it should be used against anybody, but it's just not enough space.
And I agree with diversity is a strength.
Yeah, we had some conversations at Black History Month, and I really thank Dr. Dashanaba King for that. She mentored me a lot into my own awakening in my own consciousness. And she's African American.
She's an African American. She teaches there.
She taught there. In the past, it was amazing. And that was the first time I was in a room with the real heart-to-heart conversations between continental Africans and diaspora Africans.
Yeah, and you're right. It's about integration. It's about us understanding and learning each other's history, right?
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of people who think that African Americans immigrated to America and America looked like it is now, and we immigrated and we forgot about our African brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not the story.
It's not true. Yours was a forceful, no welcome. It was
Yeah, we were
all
stripped.
imposed.
Yeah, and then the same here when you talk about the concentration camps and that sort of thing. The colonization that happened here on the continent, African Americans aren't aware.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of things I'm not aware of. Right. And that's why.
And while I think the experience of African Americans was intense, happening in epochs of time completely disconnected from continental Africans, our experience was more drawn out, but also to some extent the brainwashing is so much that even just getting the conversation going is a thing.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. I think that when I look at our experience and when I look at you guys' experience, it's like there's an eraser that they use with you guys, where they just kind of try to erase, and then you were muted in a sense, where it's like, it's okay, Hakuna Matata.
Yeah, sure.
You know, don't want to ruffle any feathers.
You know what all of it is? It's white supremacy.
It
everywhere.
is all over the world.
That's what it is.
Yes,
But the work of getting my own people enlightened is so tiring sometimes that it actually moves faster with diaspora Africans, non-Africans.
I don't know about that, Wangari, because what you were saying about how it is with you and your people, it's like that for us too. There's a lot of us that wouldn't even come to Africa. Like there's still a lot of African Americans that's brainwashed by white supremacy.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's all of us. We're all in this. It's everywhere, and they have done a job.
Isn't that the goal of violence and divide and rule? That's the goal.
Divide and conquer. Yeah, that is the goal. But
That's
we're
the
waking
goal.
up though.
Yeah,
Just the idea of me sitting here with you.
Yeah.
You know, those African ancestors who were stripped from this land. I no longer live the trauma of the transatlantic slave trade. I am transcending it, right? It's about standing on the shoulders of those Africans who wanted to come back and they couldn't escape slavery. And now all of those ancestors are looking at me and saying, daughter, you made it back. And look at my daughters, they're together.
That's right. Yeah.
My daughters are together, right?
That's right. Yeah.
My daughters, all of our ancestors are looking and saying, our daughters are coming back together. You know, our sons coming back together. So again, what you said, let me not get emotional. What you said about the integration.
Yeah.
And so it's such a privilege of me just sitting here.
I love your podcast because every moment you get to transform it. Every moment. And it matters. It may feel like a drop in the ocean, but it's not. It matters. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. So anything else before we log off? I'm going to have all of your links.
I am a student of African knowledges. I'm looking for healing. I would love healing for the entire African people all over the world.
Yes, absolutely. I'm here with you, sis. I'm here with you, sis. I'm here with you, Dada.
Oh, thank you.
Dada, I'm here with you.
Yes, Dada.
All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. You will be seeing more from us. We're going to be doing some drive-alongs and that sort of thing. So I love you guys so much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this video. Share this video. Share this video. We love you guys so much. Peace. Look, she did it.
That's a